Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Paola and today I bring you a long overdue reading survey and superlatives for 2023. This tag was originally created by Kayla over at Books and Lala, so I will leave a link to that video in the description below. And the reason why I'm doing this tag or survey is because I obviously missed out on posting reading stats and my top books of 2023 technically on time. Like, it's literally the middle of February as I am filming this, and I figure this is the best way to sort of package it all in one video and share with you, because I've been dying to talk about some of these books and some of the stats and just some of the questions that are in this tag. I'm really excited to talk about. So yeah, let's get started. Question number 1, how many books did you read in 2023? I read a total of 65 books, which is very, very exciting. I believe my original goal was 75, but I had to be reasonable towards the end of the year. I really wanted to push myself and read maybe graphic novels or something. But at the end of the day, I was just like, no, I love myself way too much to be pressuring myself to read 10 more books or 11. I believe my final goal, December 30th, was okay, I'm just gonna read the one book so that I can have a really pretty number to talk about. 65. Question number 2, how many pages did you read? I read, according to the Amazon bookish information, I read 14,905 pages, which is a lot. I'm sure a lot of people read way more considering, the length of the book, the amount of books that they read. But this is a stat that I never really pay attention to, just because, I don't know, it doesn't really interest me how many pages I read. It's just about me enjoying the book and me reading the book. So yeah, but I still find this number quite impressive. Question number 3, what is your most read genre? So without fail, every single year I read mostly contemporary books. This year was no exception. 20% of my reading was made up of contemporary books. And I'll show you the graph here, the full graph. I have a couple of really small, like 1% genres. I'm really excited about this statistic. I feel like it shows that I'm trying to move away from my comfort zone a little bit. And that was definitely true. I started reading a lot more fantasy. And by that, I mean, I read 4 or 5 fantasy books, and I read a couple of thriller books. I read a couple of poetry books. So I branched out here and there, and that's what I want to continue in 2024. Question number 4, your favorite 2023 release. I'm going to say Orange September by Jasmine Farrell. This is a really sweet, short, steamy poetry collection. It's very HORNY, so I highly recommend it for anyone who is into that kind of poetry. Again, it's really short. It's 76 pages, something like that. There was so much yearning and loving and just hot. It was a really hot poetry book. Question number 5, favorite older title that you read in 2023. That is definitely Three Dark Crowns by Kendare Blake. This is YA fantasy. I believe the first book came out in 2017, maybe 2016. And I remember it being really popular to talk about. It was in everybody's halls and very few wrap-ups, if I remember correctly. And the premise itself always interested me. It's about these 3 queens, or 3 contestants, I guess, who are meant to fight to the death for the throne to be queen. Holy shit, nobody told me how brutal this was, despite the premise already being brutal enough, 3 sisters fighting to the death to be queen. That is very brutal. But I feel like I didn't fully grasp just how brutal the world in itself is. It was hard for me to grasp onto what kind of world these girls were living in, that this was some sort of acceptable competition or some sort of acceptable ascension to the throne. So it really surprised me. It was really gory, political intrigue galore. And oh my god, that last 15 to 10%. What the fuck? I need to stop making this video and start reading book number 2, because what the fuck? I'm so just thinking about it. I'm just very, very excited to carry on with the series. Question number 6, a book that lived up to the hype. Without a shadow of a doubt, no pun intended, it was Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo. I don't know, this was kind of funny for me because I was never planning on reading this series until Netflix was taking its sweet, sweet time telling us the fate of the show. I know season 2 was very polarizing to say the least, because I know fans of the books were really like taken aback by how much they added, changed. They took a lot of liberties in season 2, but I for one was really, really digging where it was going, particularly with Mal and Alina and Inej. I was like, oh, I really want to see where they take these characters, because people are saying it's very different from the book. So I'm very, very intrigued by that. But then, like I said, Netflix was taking its sweet time to either renew or cancel. Now we know that it's canceled, and that made me very, very upset. So I decided to read from the beginning, because I know I don't technically have to read them in publication order, but I wanted to, just because I really, really love Mal and Alina in the show. I think Archie Reno and Jessie May Lee did a fantastic job with those characters. And I'm really upset that it was canceled. I could talk about this forever. Book number 7, a book that did not live up to the hype. That is very sad for me, because I really, really, really wanted to love this book. But I don't know if it was the hype, my expectations, the fact that my expectations got even higher when I watched the show, just because how confused I was. But it was Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. What I mean by the show making my expectations even higher was that I really hated the TV show. Like, it's just so boring. But I knew that a lot of people loved the book, and I was like, okay, the book has to be better than whatever this mess is. So I read it and I was like, okay, that's fine. Like, I'm sure a lot of people already know what this is about, but just in case you don't, it's like oral history, Fleetwood Mac fanfic, and it's about addiction and selfishness and finding the one person that really understands you. And it's about music, it's about loyalty, and it's a book. Like, it's a book that I read. I enjoyed it just fine. Yeah, I think this is a case of the girls who get it, and the girls who don't. And I am a girl and I do not get it. Question number 8, your biggest reading accomplishment. Reading fantasy. For the longest time, I've been terrified of even touching a YA fantasy book, just because the entire world building thing, keeping track of the political intrigue, who's who in terms of like the peoples, like, because there's, cultures at war and all of that, like, it just intimidated me a lot. But I'm really, really happy that I could read Shadow and Bone, Siege and Storm, Three Dark Crowns, and Last Sunrise in Eterna by Amparo Ortiz. Oh my god, please go read Last Sunrise in Eterna by Amparo Ortiz. It's just so, so good. So yeah, I'm really excited about carrying on this era of the fantasy girly that I'm in, because I'm really, really loving the fantasy that I'm reading so far. Question number 9, your favorite character. I don't know if this is cheating, because it's a book that I read last year, but I reread it in 2023 as well. So I'm just gonna say Marlin Shin from Juniper and Thorn by Ava Reid. Oh my god. First of all, Ava Reid can do no wrong. Like, I've loved every single book that she's put out there. They have 3, The Wolf and the Woodsman, Juniper and Thorn, and A Study in Drowning, and they are all phenomenal. That being said, Marlin Shen is my favorite character that Ava has ever written. She's just so kind-hearted and innocent. She's just such a testament to what resilience means to me. Like, the way that she is finding ways to survive. I don't know. I don't know how much to say without spoiling it all. I just really love Marlin Shen, and it makes me really sad the amount of like hate the book has gotten, just because people don't quite know what the genre is. Like, I remember in the beginning of 2022, when this book was getting, more hype and more attention, people were saying it was like fantasy romance. A lot of people were complaining about the amount of sex that there is in the book. By the way, there's 2 sex scenes. Like, there's just 2. There's 2. The way that some people were talking about it made it sound like Ava had written like erotic horror, and that is not at all the case. Yeah, people were just misinterpreting the book, and I can't tell if it was purposely or accidentally. Either way, the amount of hate this book has been getting is just completely unearned. And I want to make it very clear. I think I've been talking about this book for a really long time now, but I want to make it very clear. This is not a romance book. It is not horror romance. It is not fantasy romance. It is gothic horror fiction with a romantic subplot. If you don't know what gothic horror means, please go look it up, because every single thing that I've seen people complain about this book is within the conventions of gothic horror. I think it's a book that's meant to make you uncomfortable. It's a book that's meant to make you think. And unfortunately, not a lot of people read with that in mind. And that's fine. Like, there's books out there for you to escape to and all of that fun stuff. But this book in particular, Juniper and Thorn, is not for you to escape. This book is not escapism. This book makes you confront realities that are happening and that have been happening, and just please give it a fair shot. Question number 10, your least favorite character. Least favorite sounds complimentary because it implies that he's like within my favorites, and he's really not. He's just a character that I heavily dislike, and that is Conrad Fisher from The Summer I Turned Pretty. I don't understand it in the book. I don't understand it in the show. He is just so infuriating, but I can't tell if I dislike him more because of who he truly is. Very big quotations there, as in if the character is well crafted and I just don't vibe with him, or if he's just a character in a show and a character in a book, and the people are constantly telling me that I should be rooting for him, and that pisses me off. The way people make excuses for Conrad and they just won't sympathize with Belly or Jeremiah makes me so upset. Like, why does he deserve more sympathy than Jeremiah or Belly? Like, what is going on? Question number 11, the book with the most surprising moment. I have two, and one was very cathartic. It was a really lovely twist, and the other one made my heart shatter into thousands and thousands of small little tiny pieces. So the twist that made me very happy is in A Study in Drowning. I will not say what the twist is. It might not even be a twist, but it's just something that made me supremely happy to find out. And I'm really sad that I can't talk about this without spoiling the whole thing. But if anybody has read A Study in Drowning, let me know so that I can talk about this, because I love this moment, this twist a lot. And the heartbreaking twist is in All the Dead Things by Bear Lee. I can't talk about it without spoiling the whole thing, but it was just so sad. Like, I remember getting to that part and just going like, oh, fuck my life. This is awful. This is so sad. And by awful, I just mean like it's awful for the character and it's awful for me who's reading, but it's a twist that makes sense. It's a twist that I'm assuming people who are more familiar with the genre, this is horror, are more familiar with it, but it just shattered me. It shattered me. It was really sad. Question number 12, your favorite writing. This is a really tricky question to answer just because I read a lot of different books with really different styles, but the one off the top of my head that, like, I saw this question and I was like, this one was Yellow Face by R.F. Kuang. I find it so interesting the way that this book is written. I mean, I don't know if other people get this or not when they read the book, but I personally think that it's written in sort of like a confessional blog post. It's just one of those things where, you know, the truth comes out and this person is like, okay, no, but this is what actually happened. And they are like constantly trying to make excuses and to make it look not so bad. And then you get to the actual truth and you're like, no, it is terrible. This is terrible. And you have been terrible. Like, you have been telling me this whole time you're a bad person, that you don't deserve my sympathy. It's just such a wild ride to go on concerning Juniper and the main character. It was just so fun to read. I was never bored reading this book. I found it oddly cathartic. I listened to it on audio, so shout out to Libra FM for that audiobook. I will leave a link in the description below so you can join Libra FM if you so wish to. Hashtag not sponsored, but I am in their booksellers program and I love it, so you should check it out. Before we move on, I want to take a little break to talk about my Patreon. You can join for as little as $2 all the way up to $15. All four tiers get the same perks. It's just about however much you can and want to contribute to the channel, which I would very much appreciate. The perks include a weekly exclusive newsletter, early access to any and all of my content, and exclusive videos. The link is in the description below, and I would very, very much appreciate it if you could support me in that way. Question number 13, the book that you pushed most people to read. I didn't really push people to read this year or this last year. I just remember people were on the fence of reading A Study in Drowning by Ava Reed, and they were like, should I read this book or should I read A Study in Drowning? Or what book should I start? And one of the options was A Study in Drowning, and I told people that they should absolutely read A Study in Drowning. And I also remember asking people who were currently reading the book if they were enjoying it, just because I really, really loved it, and people getting back to me and saying that they did. And so, yeah, I'm gonna say that one, even though I didn't really push people. People were already excited to read this book, and I was just like, you should give it a shot. Question number 14, the book that you'll be recommending the most. So again, because I am not going to be able to make my top 10 favorite reads of 2023 or my top anything books of 2023, consider this the best books that I read in 2023 that I highly, highly recommend for all of you to read. Number 1, Something More by Jackie Khalilieh. This is a love triangle YA contemporary. It's about a Palestinian Christian girl. She has just gotten her autism diagnosis and she's grappling with that. It's a book about friendship, love, crushes, loyalty, growing up, and the voice is so good. It really made me feel like I was reading from a teenage perspective, and I just respected a whole lot for that. And also, it's just an incredible book. Number 2, Letters for Joy by Melissa C. This is also YA contemporary. This is also romance, and this one is a Cyrano de Bergerac retelling, and it's about Joy, who has never been in love, and so she starts sending this like school's Cupid, who is like in charge of writing love notes and stuff. Basically, if people want to ask someone out for prom, or someone wants to express their feelings but doesn't know how to, they ask Caldwell Cupid, I think they're called. And so one day Joy starts messaging them, and they're like, so what's love about? And they start having this like back and forth. They start falling in love, as the retelling begs for it to do. It is so good. We have a pansexual, autistic coded love interest and a main character who is asexual. I believe she's also pansexual, and she has cerebral palsy. So good. Could not stop reading it. I think I read it in like 3-4 days, which is really fast given the person that I am, given the reader that I am. Please go check it out. Number 3, A Study in Drowning by Ava Reed. This is dark academia. There's political intrigue. There's a lot of implications in the kind of search that the characters are going through. It is gothic. It's historical fantasy. It is phenomenal. Number 4, Birthday Shot by Real C. Adams. For those of you who, like me, love adult romance, this is contemporary, and it is brother's best friend kind of romance turned into like friends with benefits. Oh, delicious. So good. Number 5, Sweet Vengeance by Viano Onyomo. This is also adult romance. This is for my monster romance loving girlies, and it's about a woman who summons a demon after she's been attacked so that she can K-word the attacker, and the demon is supposed to make it look like an accident. Really cathartic, really hot book, super atmospheric as well. Oh my god, you will feel like you are in the world with these characters. It is so good. Number 6, All the Dead Things by Bear Lee. This is slasher horror, and it's mixed media, and it's about this boy named Walker who has been on death row. Not a boy, he's a man now. He's been on death row for like 25 years, something like that, and he's just now talking about it with this like really morally gray questionable podcast girly. It has everything. It has comedy, it has horror, it has gore. The way that this is crafted, oh my goodness. Please go read it. If you are a true crime lover, if you are a horror lover, this is the book that you should be reading right now. Number 7, Orange September by Jasmine Farrell. I already talked about this book. Really short, really steamy kind of poetry. So good. And finally, book number 8 that I will never shut up about, A Game for Swallows by Seyna Birached. This is a graphic memoir set during the civil war in Lebanon, and it's about how these kids were basically trapped in their own apartment after their parents left to go to the grandmother's house, and they are unable to come back via, the safe route because of snipers, because of the war. It is so good, so claustrophobic, and very easy on the eyes. Question number 15, your favorite newly discovered author. And I have 2. Jackie Kalilia, I already talked about her book, Something More. YA, love triangle, contemporary Palestinian Christian girl who has just gotten her autism diagnosis. Does she have a new book coming out? I need to find out because I will read the hell out of that. It is so good. And the other author is, of course, Piano Onyemo. I've been raving about this book to anyone who's been able to hear me just like in real life, just because, I don't know, I've been really bad with my online content and I know that. It's just so inventive, creative, amazing, show-stopping, spectacular, never before seen. It's just so good. Top tier monster romance. Speaking of, question number 16 is your favorite cover, and that is Sweet Vengeance by Piano Onyemo. I believe she designed this and made this herself. I just really love the color palette, the typography. It is so good, and I feel like it represents the book in a really perfect way. Question number 17, the book that made you cry the most. I have 2 answers. You Don't Have a Shot by Raquel Marie. Please don't read this book in public. You will be crying multiple times. Also, do not read The Lesbiana's Guide to Catholic School by Sonora Reyes in public. I did not read this one in public, thank God, because I was also crying my eyes out every few pages. Question number 18, the book that made you laugh the most. Again, You Don't Have a Shot by Raquel Marie. Because this is about girls' soccer camp, there were so many quips and comebacks that I felt like I was back in high school. It was so good, so funny, and the timing was just perfect. This book is really well paced. Yellowface is another book that made me laugh a lot. I just think it's such a smart way to just bring forth the current white mess that publishing is. I guess it's always been a white mess, but now more people are talking about it. Question number 19, your favorite reread. I only reread 1 book, and it is the best possible book out there. This book is a masterpiece. I already talked about it. Juniper and Thorn by Ava Reed. It is, again, gothic horror, and it's about Marlene Shen, who has been trapped in her house for her entire life with her other 2 sisters. They are the last 3 witches remaining in her town, and so her father exploits them and abuses them. And this one time she gets to go out to see a show that one of her sister's clients was able to get them tickets to. It's about victims, survivors, love, strength, power, resilience. So good. And finally, question number 20. Your most surprising 5-star read. I don't really rate books anymore just because I just don't feel like it anymore. But I will say, given the amount of mixed reviews that this book got, I was not expecting to love it as much as I ended up loving it. Yellowface by Rebecca F. Kuang. It was just ridiculous. So satirical. It hit the nail on the head every single time. I do agree with some of the criticisms. I do agree that it could have been a little deeper. It could have gone on. But I just think that the way that it was written didn't really allow for it to go deeper. So that is it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already and you'd like to, go ahead and hit subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!